Announcements none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have given notice of the following private notice question addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. Whether in regard to synthetic drugs, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain information as to, since January 2025 to date, A, from the Commissioner of Police, the Roman 1 number of road traffic accidents involving drivers tested to be under the influence thereof, and the number of casualties resulting therefrom, and Roman 2 actions taken to curb the proliferation thereof. B, whether the National Agency for Drug Control has carried out a study on the use thereof, and if so, indicate the estimated number of users thereof identified and the actions taken / being envisaged to tackle the proliferation thereof, and C, the types of synthetic drugs, including newly synthetic drugs analyzed by the Forensic Science Laboratory, Madam Speaker.
Yes,
Thank you.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I have stated on many occasions, in no uncertain terms, that the fight against drug trafficking and use is one of the main priorities of this government. We have started implementing bold measures to end the suffering of families with an unflinching resolve to deal with this major societal scourge. It will also be relevant at the very outset to remind the House of the nefarious environment fueled by drugs, drug addiction, drug trafficking, and other drug-related crimes that the previous regime left as a toxic legacy to the nation. We are now in the process of dismantling this cozy nexus that has been clearly established between the MSM and traffickers of all shades and colors. Madam Speaker, synthetic drugs have emerged as a rapidly evolving challenge for drug control systems across the world. Unlike plant-based drugs, these substances are manufactured through chemical processes using precursor chemicals and laboratory equipment. Their production can be relatively quick and adaptable, allowing manufacturers to modify the chemical structures to create new variants that may circumvent existing legal controls. As a result, synthetic drugs are increasingly present in global illicit drug markets and pose complex regulatory and enforcement challenges. Madam Speaker, the consumption of synthetic drugs was detected in Mauritius in 2013. The first schedule of the Dangerous Drug Act was thereafter amended to include substances which are being used to manufacture synthetic drugs. Mauritius continues to confront the complex and evolving challenges posed by drug use, particularly the rise in synthetic substances, the associated public health risk, and the need for a more coordinated national response. To address these challenges, government has embarked on a comprehensive reform centered on the establishment of the National Agency for Drug Control, the implementation of the National Drug Control Master Plan, and enhanced interagency and regional collaboration. The National Agency for Drug Control Act of 2025, which came in force in May, on the 15th of May 2025, provides for the creation of the NADEC as an apex statutory body to coordinate prevention, enforcement, treatment, rehabilitation, and harm reduction measures. With regards to Part A1 and A2 of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that since January 2025 to the 1st of June 2026, police has established 1,594 cases related to synthetic drugs, resulting in the arrest of 1,650 During the same period, 44 road accidents have occurred involving drivers who tested positive for dangerous drugs, and out of these, 6 persons lost their lives and another 6 were injured. I'm informed that the following measures are being implemented by police to combat the scourge of drugs, including synthetic drugs. 1, identification of drug peddlers for intelligence gathering to disrupt the supply of illicit drugs. 2, drug mapping to locate areas of concern where drug activities are being carried out and drug addicts tend to loiter. 3, profiling of persons of interest through discrete surveillance to identify their role and involvement in the drug nexus. 4, arresting drug offenders, dealers, and traffickers, and ensuring the successful prosecution. 5, conducting more aggressive crackdown operations in drug-prone areas with specialized units of the police force. The aim is to nab the drug traffickers and keep those areas drug-free. 6, drones are being used for surveillance and reconnaissance missions in hotspots. 7, additional resources in terms of vehicles and manpower have been provided to ATSU to increase its operational effectiveness. ATSU personnel have also been provided with training and sophisticated equipment to enhance their operational capabilities. And 8, drug patrols, daily patrols are being carried out with the SSU, SMF, and DSU personnel in hotbeds areas. Madam Speaker, as part of the government's ongoing efforts to combat the plague of synthetic drugs and enhance road safety, crackdown operations have been intensified against drivers under the influence of intoxicating substances. Since January 2025, a total of 1,837,461 vehicles have been stopped and checked, resulting in 1,068 persons being tested positive for synthetic drugs. From January 2025 to the 2nd of June 2026, police has carried out 361 crackdown operations, resulting in seizure of synthetic drugs for an amount of 957 million rupees, 151,400 rupees. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, the UNODC carried out an assessment on synthetic drugs in Mauritius and submitted a report in December 2024, recommending the following actions. 1, setting up of an early warning measures system to detect the emergence of synthetic drugs. 2, creating awareness and education of the community, and particular vulnerable groups, on the risks and dangers of synthetic drugs. 3, strengthen access to drug treatment facilities, focus on sustained aftercare and follow-up. 4, development of tailored post-rehabilitation based on individual abilities, education, and skills. 5, evaluation and adjustment of the Drug Users Administrative Panel to ensure that people arrested for drug use follow a rehabilitation program. 6, enhance capacity building to frontline law enforcement and border control officials on the latest trends in drug trafficking and identification of new drugs. And 7, greater regional and international collaboration for sharing of information and intelligence on synthetic drugs. In July 2025, a workshop was held by the National Agency for Drug Control to disseminate the findings of the report to concerned civil society organizations, ministries, departments, and relevant stakeholders. Madam Speaker, in addition, the National Agency for Drug Control is launching a study on the prevalence and determinants of synthetic drug use among secondary school students in Mauritius. This study aims to provide up-to-date data and a clearer understanding of the factors influencing the use of such substances among the youth. Secondly, NADEC will undertake an exercise to update the findings of the 2021 Drug Use Survey on people who use drugs with a view to tracking trends, assessing changes over time, and informing evidence-based policy and intervention strategies. In addition, Madam Speaker, a steering committee on the containment of synthetic drugs has been set up, comprising key stakeholders, including the Anti-Drug and Smuggling Unit, the Forensic Science Lab, among others, to ensure a coordinated and effective response to the challenges posed by the synthetic drugs. These include, I should say, also the Ministry of Health personnel and also the Pharmaceutical Board. In line with the recommendation of the UNODC report, NADEC, in collaboration with health institutions and laboratories, is implementing an early warning system to allow for early detection of psychoactive substances and ensure prompt responses by national institutions to emerging threats relating to synthetic drugs and their precursor chemicals. I'm informed that NADEC has instituted a technical working group on the cannabis policy reform to advise government on the best strategy regarding cannabis, namely legislation, depenalization, or decriminalization. National public consultations were launched last week and are ongoing. Based on the information and views gathered, as well as the studies and surveys underway by relevant experts, evidence-based recommendations will be submitted. Madam Speaker, in regard to Part C of the question, the Forensic Science Lab has analyzed different types of synthetic drugs and new psychoactive substances submitted by law enforcement agencies. These include mainly synthetic cannabinoids, as well as synthetic cathinons and synthetic opioids. Synthetic cannabinoids remain the main synthetic drug category detected by the FSL. In 2025, the FSL recorded 1,110 cases of synthetic cannabinoids. In addition, 252 cases were classified under other dangerous drugs, including synthetic opioids, synthetic cathinones, benzodiazepines, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Since the first synthetic drug case was reported in Mauritius in 2013, approximately 60 new psychoactive substances have been identified. These substances are of concern as the chemical structures, as explained, change rapidly. They may be present in very small but potent quantities. They may be concealed in various forms, including leaf matter, paper, strips, powder, and liquid. New molecules have been identified in the FSL casework. FSL has already detected heroin-related mixtures and adulterated exhibits involving substances such as xylazine, nitazines, diazepam, synthetic cathinones, and synthetic opioids, indicating a trend towards poly-drug mixtures and market substitution. The FSL continues to monitor emerging substances through the identification of new psychoactive substances, the development and updating of analytical methods, forensic intelligence, support to law enforcement agencies, and the provision of expert reports and testimony before courts. I should add, Madam Speaker, that FSL is being totally restructured under the new management. And they also, I should add, contemplating outsourcing because of a backlog, about 8,000 cases of backlog still there. Madam Speaker, the drug scourge, especially in the proliferation of synthetic drugs, is a matter of national concern that should transcend partisan politics. All those who have at heart the interests and the welfare of our citizens should join forces in the daunting challenges that we are facing and that is dangerously tearing the very fabric of our society. Let me quote on you what the American journalist David Shingberg said a few years ago in an issue of the Newsweek magazine. And I quote, "The largest, richest, and deadliest criminal enterprise in history is penetrating deeply into civil structures that make democracy what it is. That is, the justice systems, police forces, political parties, legislatures, electoral campaigns, government, ministries, and presidential palaces." Madam Speaker, this is a clarion call for all of us to ensure that the criminal drug empire does not have an upper hand on our nation.
Thank you. Yes, your first supplementary, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the situation is catastrophic with regard to drugs in the country. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, he made reference to the National Drug Control Master Plan. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House why is it that if government is reconsidering cannabis policy as a deterrent to synthetic drugs, This is not reflected in the master plan.
It is reflected in the master plan. I just said, Madam Speaker, that they are actually looking at this. They're looking at all the opinions that have been expressed. They're also looking at experts' opinion, and also it will be based on what evidence they get.
Okay, second
It's
question.
not in the master plan, Madam Speaker. With regard to treatment of drug addicts, the UNODC report noted that Mauritius has limited public rehabilitation capacity. Therefore, again, why is it that the master plan does not offer any immediate strategy concerning the treatment of drug addicts in the country?
I get the impression the leader of the opposition hasn't read it properly. It does address this question as well. It does. You're reading the wrong report.
Your third question?
Again, with reference to the same master plan. Now, given that Mauritius has been identified as the leading user of synthetic drugs in the region of East Africa, can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House why, again, the National Drug Control Master Plan does not provide specific rapid response mechanisms for new synthetic drugs? You should read the report, the master plan.
You should read the report, and you should read the report what it says. It says in the last 10 years, this is the toxic legacy that we've inherited from the MSM.
Exactly.
And this is what you can't expect it to do overnight, what you didn't do in 10 years. But they are doing what has to be done.
Fourth question.
Le Premier ministre lui-même fait référence à ce sujet comme un sujet national, et à chaque fois, il met de l'avant
No
la
statement.
politique.
No statement.
And the Honorable Prime Minister confirmed, Madam Speaker, if the FSL currently has the necessary equipment and personnel to proceed with analysis of samples and the detection of new drugs?
Just explain, Madam Speaker, they have all the equipment, modern equipment that they have. There's a new director of the FSL at the moment. He's come from London, well-equipped, well-qualified, and he's doing a lot of changes. They have the equipment, most of the equipment, not all. But what they do not have is enough personnel, which we're looking into. There's also, they've identified, this was identified before as well, that very often the people who are supposed to do the analysis in the labs, they are spending their time in court. This is something that we have to correct, because they do not have to go to court unless they're specifically asked to be in court. So we're losing a lot of manpower, spending time in court instead of doing the analysis in the FSL.
Yes.
With regard to the new director of the FSL, can the House be informed of the qualifications and experience of the new director?
Madam Speaker, he's one of the most experienced and qualified persons that we've had, and we should be thankful that he agreed to leave the UK to come here to work because of personal reasons. He wanted to come back to Mauritius. We are very grateful that he has actually come. He's very qualified. If you want a detail of, if you want a full list of his qualifications, I'll table it. I just explained he worked in that department in the UK. What else do you want?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now, Madam Speaker, we regularly see on social media people in acute distress in public places under the influence of synthetic drugs. May I ask the Honorable Prime Minister whether there is a protocol in place at the level of the NADC for rapid intervention in such situations?
This is for the police to do the rapid intervention, not for them, Madam Speaker.
Can I ask the Honorable Prime Minister to inform the House how many such intoxicated persons, which I made reference to earlier, have been put on a rehabilitation program?
Whenever they get persons that they feel has to go through rehabilitation, they do. I don't have the exact figures of how many people, but I know that the police are doing what has to be done, and also the NADC.
Okay, next question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a widely circulated video depicted a transaction involving synthetic drugs through a residential window. Can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm whether the individuals featured have been identified, arrested, and charged? And if not, Madam Speaker, what investigative hurdles have been encountered?
Does the leader of opposition realize that's an old video which predates the election?
My second question refers to that video you are mentioning, not the first one. And I'll put my second question, Madam Speaker. Reports have linked a public performer known as Raquel. You made reference to him. And he has performed, everybody knows, in public gatherings of Alliance du Changement. And this went viral, Madam Speaker. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether this person has already been questioned by the police and what has been the outcome?
In fact, Madam Speaker, to allay the fears of the leader of the opposition, he actually has.
Madam Speaker, given that press reports describe fine accused at suspected drug markets and the population in certain regions, they themselves have identified those places. Why has government not deployed specialized units such as Marcos trained teams for precision interventions in those areas?
Yes, Prime Minister.
Wonder why it wasn't done 10 years ago. I've just explained that they're doing crackdown operations, that they have special teams doing this. I just explained.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, we don't hear crackdown in those areas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister stated in this House that vehicles of persons driving under the influence of drugs will be seized. May we know where matters are, Honourable Prime Minister?
You're talking about the previous cases of, I'm not quite sure what the question is. Can you repeat the question?
Can you please repeat?
Yes, of course, Madam Speaker. Honourable Prime Minister, you made a statement in this House that vehicles of persons driving under the influence of drugs will be seized. May we know where matters are?
I know that the vehicles that have been used, that have been identified, are taken care of. The vehicles are taken away from them and examined, if that is what the question is related to.
Come forward to seize those vehicles, Madam Speaker. Now, Honourable Prime Minister, is a person arrested for drug-impaired driving currently permitted to retain his license and continue driving pending trial? And if so, does government consider this compatible with public safety imperatives?
Yes,
When they
Prime
go to
Minister.
court, Madam Speaker, I can't intervene in the court. Somebody has to go through the court system if they decide to allow him to continue. For very few, actually, this is happening. But it can happen. It's happened. I can't control what happens in the court.
Madam Speaker, is the Honourable Prime Minister aware that a product known as fentanyl, which is, I understand, 100 times more potent than heroin, is being used to prepare those deadly cocktails of synthetic drugs?
Are you aware?
I just answered that question, Madam Speaker. I don't know what you want me to say more. They are being analyzed. I explained that these new substances, the chemical molecules can be changed very quickly. It takes time to identify. We are identifying. I think I mentioned 60 or so have been identified.
Yes. Yes, I already have 2 waiting, so you'll be the third if we have time. Okay? Yes. Would you give way to some other members?
I'll come back with 2 last questions.
Okay, then you'll come back. Okay, Honourable Duval.
Madam Speaker, may I ask the Prime Minister, There are an estimated 50,000 drug users in Mauritius. The latest figures available for the National Drug Observatory Report 2024 state that 500 only, less than 1%, have been through the government rehabilitation program. We do not have the figures today. I will ask the Prime Minister what is being contemplated to urgently ensure that we can rehabilitate those 50 estimated thousand people who are drug addicts in Mauritius.
Speaker, I just explained in my answer what actually NADEC is doing to identify them. Or I can go through them again if you want. They're identifying the drug peddlers to start with through the intelligence gathering that they get. They're doing drug mapping of local areas of concern. They're profiling persons of interest, again through discrete surveillance. They're arresting drug offenders, that is dealers and traffickers, and ensuring that they are successfully prosecuted. And they're conducting more aggressive crackdown operations. And we are using drones to identify these hotspots.
Yes, Ms. Chief Whip.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Le Premier ministre peut-il informer la Chambre si un laboratoire clandestin de fabrication de drogue synthétique a été démantelé à Ficonflac en 2025, ayant conduit à l'arrestation de 3 personnes et la saisie de drogue d'une valeur de 47 millions? Merci, Madame la Présidente.
The Honorable Chief Whip is well informed that is so.
Yes, Honourable Member from Bobassa.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Premier ministre peut-il dire à la Chambre si, au niveau de la police, s'il y a eu des enquêtes qui ont été initiées afin d'identifier les réseaux d'importation, de fabrication et de distribution de ces drogues à Maurice? Si tel est le cas, y a-t-il des actions fortes qui sont prévues afin de démanteler ces réseaux?
We depend a lot of intelligence reports that we get, and we get help from, especially from 2 countries, that is France and India. President Macron was here recently. We went to visit the mapping that they're doing for that area, including in the Indian Ocean. This is that kind of collaboration we are getting through our friends from abroad.
Yes, you have 2 questions, and
Yes,
I think...
again with regard to products being used for the production of synthetic drugs. There is another product called ketamine. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to confirm if the sale of this product is restricted and if its availability on the local market has been investigated?
The answer is yes. The short answer is yes.
It has been banned in all pharmacies.
It is restricted. It is restricted.
It is restricted. Yes?
Okay.
Okay?
Madam Speaker, last question. Apart from that laboratory in Ficonflac, are there any other laboratories in the country producing synthetic drugs which have been dismantled?
I'm not aware of this, whether there are other laboratories operating at the moment, but the police are doing what they can do.
Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Honourable members, I'm sorry. J'ai un chat dans la gorge. Excusez-moi. The table has been advised that PQB 877 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Commerce and Consumer Protection. I'm waiting to know who else will be replying to other questions for ministers who are absent. I'm waiting to know. Okay, for the moment, I'm calling Honourable Second Member for Rodrigue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Bistro 859.
Yes.
I think I misplaced the answer for 859, but let's see it is here. Madam Speaker, as regards part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that an average of 13 persons daily undergo practical driving tests at the driving test center in Port Mathurin. and around 40% sit for oral tests, which are held on Saturdays only. With regards to Part B of the question, the number of driving licenses issued in Rodrigue over the past 5 years are as follows: 1,011 in 2021, 676 in 2022, 1,008 in 2023, 1,188 in 2024, 1,230 in 2025, and 688 as at May of this year. In regards to Part C of the question, I'm informed by the Rodrigues Regional Assembly that land has already been earmarked at Jean Tac near the SMF compound for the setting up of a new driving test center. Consultations, as well as site visits were held by the Commission for Public Infrastructure with the Traffic Management Road Safety Unit, the Road Development Authority, the police, and other stakeholders for the design and implementation of the project. The detailed design and cost estimates of the project are being worked out at the level of the Commission for Public Infrastructure of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly.
Thank you. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, with regards to the driving setup of Maturin for oral tests, whether he is aware that the room is inappropriate, where questions are being put on whiteboards, in Creole only, non-computerized. Will he agree with me to request the Commissioner of Police to see to it for necessary upgrade thereat, and also to provide the choice of languages in both English and French as well to applicants for oral tests thereat?
I can pass on that to the Commissioner of Police.
I'm sure. Yes. Honourable third member for Grand Bay, Poudre Nord.
Merci Madame la Présidente. B860, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Finance launched the consultation process for the 2026-2027 budget early in the year, that is from February of this year. First, on 24th of February 2026, the Ministry of Finance issued a communique inviting all stakeholders and the public at large to submit their proposals in the context of the budget preparation exercise. Stakeholders were informed that the budget would focus on boosting GDP growth potential, raising productivity and competitiveness, creating quality jobs, improving living standards for all Mauritians, while strengthening climate resilience and restoring sound public finances. On the 27th of February 2026, the Ministry of Finance issued the budget circular to ministries and departments, requesting them to submit their budget proposals. Ministries and departments were informed that government would give priority to spending that delivers the greatest development impacts while minimizing pressures on public finances. However, Madam Speaker, the day after we issued the circular, the war in the Middle East started, increasing global economic uncertainty and causing major disruptions in the supply chains, especially of energy, food, and fertilizer. Since then, for example, the price of crude oil has been surging, reaching a peak of $126 per barrel. This is having a negative impact on both growth and inflation worldwide. The situation is adding significantly to an already tight budgeting exercise. It calls for building greater resilience to such external shocks while pursuing our efforts to consolidate public finances. Consequently, the Ministry of Finance has asked the various ministries and departments to factor in these developments in the formulation of their budget proposals. I'm informed, Madam Speaker, that in the course of preparing the submissions, ministries and departments have also engaged with relevant stakeholders and at their respective levels along the same lines. The Ministry of Finance has had extensive discussions with ministries and departments on the budget proposals through various estimates committee meetings, emphasizing the difficult situation we are in. Third, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Finance had meetings with different stakeholders across key sectors of the economy and society. These include business, trade, women and environment associations, professional bodies, trade unions, artists and youth groups, civil society organizations, planters, livestock breeders, fishermen, academia, SMEs and private sector representatives. Fourth, the Ministry of Finance is currently conducting policy dialogue meetings with all ministries. More specifically, discussions are being held with the relevant ministers and their senior staffs on key policy reforms within their respective ministries. The policy dialogue meetings will continue over the coming days to allow for further engagement and constructive exchanges ahead of the finalization of the budget. Madam Speaker, one can appreciate the considerable efforts being deployed by all stakeholders, ministries and departments, as well as the Ministry of Finance through this consultation process. I would therefore like to express my sincere appreciation to all those who have contributed their time, expertise, and valuable inputs towards the preparation of the budget. I would also like to reassure all stakeholders that the proposals and recommendations submitted are being carefully and thoroughly examined and will be taken into account when we formulate the budget.
Yes, you're right. Next question, Honourable Second Member. First Member for Portis.
B/861.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Mauritius Revenue Authority that the total value collected in terms of value-added tax amounts to 52.2 billion rupees over the period 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of April 2026.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Prime Minister, can you indicate whether the reduction of the VAT registration threshold from 6 million to 3 has generated the additional revenue expected? If not, whether you will review it in the next budget?
No, we will not review it because it has actually brought more people into the formal process.
Okay, good. Second Member for Rivière-des-Anguilles now.
Merci, Madame. Question B862, please.
Madam Speaker, the then Minister of Finance approved the investment of 3 billion rupees in fixed deposits at Silver Bank Limited, despite the fact that they were known to have a dubious management. These investments were made on 3 occasions. First, 500 million rupees in April 2022. Second, 500 million rupees in August 2022. And third, 2 billion rupees in September 2022. All the investments were made in fixed deposits at Silverbank Limited on the condition that they can be withdrawn at any time without penalty after providing 1 week notice to the bank. Madam Speaker, out of the 3 billion invested at Silverbank Limited, the COVID-19 Projects Development Fund has withdrawn 2.5 billion rupees on different occasions. First, 500 million rupees were withdrawn on the 17th of February 2023 to pay 20% advance payment to contractors for the implementation of social housing projects. Second, 500 million rupees were withdrawn on the 7th of March 2023 to meet urgent commitments associated with the implementation of the social housing project. In other words, 1 billion already. Third, on the 9th of March 2023, the fund requested the bank to transfer the remaining 2 billion again to meet its commitment up to June 2023, including advance payments to contractors for the implementation of the social housing project and the National Flood Management Program to mitigate frequent flash floods. Following this request, Silverbank Limited transferred 1.3 billion rupees as follows: 500 million on the 17th of March 2023, 550 million on the 27th of March 2023, 250 million on the 7th of September 2023, thus leaving a balance of 700 million rupees. Madam Speaker, on the 18th of January 2024, the fund requested Silverbank Limited to settle the outstanding balance of 700 million rupees together with all accrued interest. Subsequently, on the 19th of January 2024, Silverbank Limited informed the fund that it would pay 250 million rupees by the following week and the remaining balance, including interest, by early April of 2024. Accordingly, on the 24th of January 2024, Silverbank Limited transferred 250 million rupees to the fund, of which 50 million rupees were interest, thus leaving a capital balance of 500 million at the bank. Silverbank Limited paid a total interest of 67.7 million rupees to the fund after taking on account the early withdrawal of deposits. Madam Speaker, on the 13th of February 2024, the Bank of Mauritius placed the Silver Bank under conservatorship. In this context, on the 19th of February 2024, the fund informed the conservator of the remaining balance of Silver Bank Limited and requested the latter to transfer the remaining capital amount and the outstanding interest at the earliest. On the 21st of February 2024, the conservator informed the fund that inter alia he will not accede to any request to withdraw funds from accounts maintained with Silver Bank Limited until further notice. The Bank of Mauritius, on the 30th of March 2026, terminated the conservatorship of Silver Bank Limited and appointed a receiver. The fund had, on the 9th of April 2026, informed the receiver of the outstanding balance and requested the latter to transfer the capital and the outstanding interest at the earliest possible. Madam Speaker, it is, to say the least, extremely disturbing that when quotations were sought from commercial banks for the Project Development Fund to invest its surplus funds, the quotations received from Silver Bank Limited was surprisingly way above the quote obtained from other banks. To give you an example, the State Bank of Mauritius quoted 0.75% for 12 months. Bank 1 quoted 1.25% for 12 months. However, Silver Bank quoted an amazing figure of 4% for 12 months. You can see what was happening. Yes, Silver Bank was awarded funds at a remarkable rate. Despite a banking system awash with cash and near record excess liquidity, we are still dealing with this problem now. Such a glaring disparity could have prompted immediate scrutiny from the Project Development Fund Committee, which had experienced members, among them the former Finance Secretary, Mr. Manraj, the former First Deputy Governor of the bank, Mr. Kuna, and Mr. Jean-Paul Arouf, former Senior Economic Advisor to the Minister of Finance, the then Minister of Finance. The decision, therefore, is difficult to justify on any objective financial basis. It's just, you can't just explain it. No prudent assessment of market conditions should support a rate of nearly 4 times higher than competing offers. The most plausible explanation is that the investment was not only intended to artificially strengthen the Silver Bank's financial position and its balance sheet. That's the only, we're speculating, but that's the only thing we can think of. Its acceptance by the committee raises serious concerns and serious questions about the decision-making process. The Project Development Fund Committee interests were subordinated to those of a particular institution. Thus, circumstances suggest that the outcome was effectively predetermined with a, I should say, not so invisible hand, guiding a decision that defied both logic and sound financial management. The result was a costly breach of fiduciary duty and a failure to safeguard public funds with the care and diligence that taxpayers are entitled to expect.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam. I understand that there will be an inquiry on all these. Will the board members also be called upon, and will they be brought to task?
They will be called upon, I can guarantee that to the House. They will be called to explain.
Okay. The Honourable First Member for Port Wisno.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question B863.
Madam Speaker, in December 1984, the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation Collection of License Fees Act was enacted to provide for the licensing of television sets and the payment of license fees. And under this act, every person who is liable to pay an electricity bill for domestic consumption must at the same time pay the television license fee unless he does not possess a TV set. Furthermore, under the first schedule of the MBC Collection of License Fees Act, domestic consumers with an electricity consumption of not more than 396 kilowatt hours in a year are exempted from payment of the monthly TV license fee. I'm informed that as at the end of April 2026, some 28,560 domestic customers are exempted from paying the MBC TV license. Madam Speaker, the abolition of the monthly television license fee remains under consideration by government, and any such decision must naturally take into account the financial sustainability of the MBC and the need to ensure uninterrupted delivery of its public broadcasting mandate. However, the current precarious financial situation of the MBC is such that the abolition of the monthly television license fee is being deferred from the time being. It is important, Madam Speaker, for me to point out that when this government assumed office in November 2024, we took cognizance then of the serious financial situation of the MBC, like everywhere else, which included an accumulated deficit of around 1.5 billion rupees, a total debt of 165,500,000 rupees, as well as pension obligations estimated at 1.8 billion rupees. In December 2024, the new management of the corporation, together with the Embassy Board, embarked on a major transformation plan aimed at strengthening the corporation's operation, financial, and public service performance. The plan focuses on, 1, to improve the relevance and quality of content, 2, to try to increase revenue generation projects, 3, improve viewership and audience reach, 4, enhance the corporate image of the MBC, 5, to strengthen employee engagement, and 6, a people, technology, and processes audit with a view to enhancing internal resources, skills, and operational capabilities. As part of this transformational roadmap, the MBC has undertaken a revamping exercise based on inter alia, the rebranding of radio channels, the conceptualization of new TV programs aimed at better meeting the expectation of the Mauritian population, and technological modernization. Madam Speaker, these transformation initiatives require continuous funding and a stable financial framework. It also needs to be accompanied by an appropriate and sustainable funding mechanism in order to safeguard the corporation's operations, its modernization program, and its essential public service role.
Yes.
Thank you, Madame Speaker. Je remercie l'honorable Premier ministre pour sa réponse. Y a-t-il un comité ministériel ou autre qui travaille sur ce dossier? Y a-t-il aussi une étude au niveau de la MBC pour trouver des sources de revenus alternatives au lieu d'appliquer cette taxe de 150 roupies sur la population? Merci.
Ça fait deux questions. Deux questions là.
They're actually doing this, looking for increasing the source of revenue, mainly through advertising, but they're looking at this. Madam Speaker, it had gone down. It's going up again.
OK. Mais une seule, pas deux à la fois?
One lost, I mean. Thank you, Madame Speaker. Puis-je demander à l'honorable Premier ministre si le dossier de libéralisation des ondes est arrivé... Non, pardon. Puis-je demander à l'honorable Premier ministre si le dossier de libéralisation des ondes est arrivé de télévision privée progresse?
They are looking into the matter. This is the commitment we have taken during the election campaign, and we intend to actually oblige on this. It will happen, but they're looking at it at the moment.
OK. Yes.
Madam Speaker, can I know from the Honourable Prime Minister the total revenue the TV license fee generates yearly?
I don't have the figures of the total revenue with me, but all I know is that it is not enough at the moment to be able to contemplate that abolishing of the TV license.
OK. Yes, Honourable
E864, thank you.
Duval. Yes.
Madam Speaker, in line of Section 6 of the Independent Broadcasting Authority Act, the Board of the Independent Broadcasting Authority was reconstituted on the 22nd of December of last year. With your permission, I'm tabling its composition, including the qualifications of the chairperson and members, as well as the remuneration allowances drawn. With regard to Part B of the question, Section 11 of the Independent Broadcasting Authority Act provides for the appointment of a director on such terms and conditions as it thinks fit. On the 20th of January 2026, Mrs. Marzina Bibi Osanali was appointed as director of the IBA on a contractual basis for a period of 2 years, and she assumed duty on the 2nd of March 2026. Mrs. Osanali holds a BSc Honours in Computer Science and Engineering from the University of Mauritius and a Master's in Business Administration in Innovation and Leadership awarded with distinction by the Dussel Global Business School of Australia. The director of the IBA is paid a monthly salary of 163,250 rupees plus a monthly extra duty allowance of 25,000 rupees. The other terms of condition of an appointment are in line with the recommendations contained in the PRB report.
Yes?
May I ask for three supplementaries?
Do one. Let's start by one.
The first, Madam Speaker, is with regards to Section 11, is the Prime Minister aware, he has quoted from Section 11, that the IBA is to independently appoint its director, and contrary to ICTA, for example, which the Prime Minister has a say, it's not the case. Does he find it, therefore, proper that this independent appointment has been done on the 20th of January 2026, following a memo from the Cabinet Secretary proposing that that person be appointed? Is that proper in upholding the independence of that institution?
If we don't remind them, there's going to be no, then we say there's delay. We had to ask that they proceed with the appointment.
May I ask another question?
Yes?
Madam Speaker, is it, again, the question of independence proper? Is the Prime Minister aware that one of the board members, Mr. G.V., has presently, is involved in a litigation with two licensees of the IBA and sits on the board? Does he find it proper to uphold the independence of the IBA?
Are you aware?
Madam Speaker, no, but the IBA, it's the board which decides, not me. It's the board.
He is a board member, and he is presently sitting on a board where there are two licensees of the IBA involved, him as well,
Don't
as a
repeat.
defendant in a Supreme Court case.
Yeah, don't repeat. Can you have a look into this?
I will ask the board to have a look at it.
Yes, Ali.
Madam Speaker, the last question, and this I'm not making it personal, but there was a decision in 2016 for certain qualification to be held by the director. It seems that this director, and this was confirmed in the 2022 Salaries Commissioner report, that the person, the incumbent, should have a master's in law, as well as 5 years' experience in a senior position in either journalism or broadcasting journalism. May I ask the Prime Minister whether this has been reviewed, and if so, can we have the date?
Are you aware of all this?
All I know, Madam Speaker, is the board decided that she is qualified to act as director.
Okay. Next question. Yes, Honourable Member from Bugasa.
B865, please.
That was personal. That was personal.
Should let the Prime Minister reply, please.
Madam Speaker, during the period 2015 to 2024, our country has witnessed a gradual decline of the horse racing industry, lack of trust and public confidence, allegations of race fixing, cases of doping, animal mistreatment, pitiful state of the racetracks, infrastructure and other amenities, and finally dwindling in the number of people attending the races at Champ de Mars. The situation has been created because of the mainmise of the MSM government and its cronies. As I've said in my previous replies, the Gambling Regulatory Authority, which was supposed to ensure that gambling is conducted in a fair and transparent manner, had also lamentably failed in its mission and objectives as spelled out in the Gambling Regulatory Authority Act. It had developed an incestuous relationship with the gambling mafia. As the House is aware, Madam Speaker, under the previous government, the Gambling Regulatory Authority Board had delegated its powers and functions. I wish Honourable Javad would listen. Look at this. The Gambling Regulatory Authority Board delegated its powers and functions regarding horse racing to the Horse Racing Division, which was engaged in the process of organizing the racing activities. The latter had failed categorically to perform its functions, rendering the horse racing sector to become prone to corruption and malpractices. As such, the reputation of the sector was tarnished, making it less prominent, and this has resulted in a lack of public confidence in the integrity of the horse racing industry. The Horse Racing Integrity Division was created after recommendations made by the Committee on Revamping of the Horse Racing Industry in 2025. The Horse Racing Division was consequently dismantled, and the Gambling Regulatory Authority Act was amended, and a new division, namely the Horse Racing Integrity Division, was set up for horse racing. I'm further informed, Madam Speaker, that the Horse Racing Integrity Division, as per its mandate, is dedicated to regulate and monitor the organization and activities of horse racing in Mauritius, and to ensure not only integrity and transparency, but also to protect the public at large. I'm informed, Madam Speaker, by the Gambling Regulatory Authority that 23 officers are posted to the Horse Racing Integrity Division. There are 5 officers employed on a permanent basis and pensionable and permanent basis. 2 officers are under employment contract, and the remaining 16 officers are under service contract. According to the Workers' Rights Act, a full-time worker is defined as someone who works at least 44 hours per week. I'm informed by the GRA that on that basis, out of the 23 officers, 15 are full-time and the remaining 8 are part-time. I'm tabling in respect of each post, whether it is full-time or part-time, the associated salaries, allowances, bonuses, and any other emoluments.
Yes.
La Présidente, l'honorable Premier ministre peut-il dire à la Chambre si le ministère des Finances compte procéder à un audit ou une enquête interne concernant l'efficacité, l'intégrité et la gestion financière de la HRID, et dans l'affirmative, les conclusions seront-elles déposées sur la table de l'Assemblée?
This, what you mentioned, the HRID, falls under the board of the GRA. So it's for them to do.
Madame la Présidente, l'honorable Premier ministre peut-il préciser à la Chambre si certains employés de la HRID occupent simultanément des fonctions dans d'autres institutions publiques ou privées, et si c'est le cas, de préciser qui ils sont?
I'm not aware of this, Madam Speaker, but I'll have to
You
look
will
into
find
it.
out?
Yes, I will find out.
Yes. Good. I will have a last question. Honourable Second Member for Rivière des Anguilles.
Merci, Madame. Question B866, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, I wish to point out that Air Mauritius Limited is a subsidiary company of Airport Holdings Limited, and as such it is for the Board of Directors of Air Mauritius Limited to decide on all strategic options which aim at strengthening the long-term sustainability, competitiveness, and financial resilience of Air Mauritius Limited. I'm informed, Madam Speaker, by the Chief Executive Officer of Air Mauritius Limited that the company is currently undertaking a network and fleet review which will determine its future direction. At this point in time, the company is not envisaging any strategic partnership, although I must say, way back, I think it was in 2010 or 2005, there was an audit done by a very reputable firm called Suivez from Canada, which suggested that Air Mauritius should contemplate a strategic partner.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to questions to ministers. Yes, Honourable Third Member for Grand Bay.
B879, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Madam the Speaker, as mentioned in the government program 2025-2029, the government will consolidate existing export markets through more targeted marketing and promotion campaigns, as well as focus on boosting productive investment and export promotion across all sectors of the Mauritian economy. My ministry regularly receives invitations for participation in international expositions and trade fairs abroad, and an in-depth assessment of the potential benefits of participation is undertaken at the level of the relevant ministries and institutions prior to confirming attendance at such events. The China International Import Expo is a major international trade exhibition hosted annually by the government of the People's Republic of China in Shanghai. It was first announced in May 2017 and has been held every year since 2018. The Expo inter alia aims to A, promote trade and economic globalization, B, facilitate the access of foreign companies to the Chinese market, C, encourage imports into China, D, strengthen international economic cooperation and partnerships, and he showcased China's commitment to further opening up its economy to the world. It is jointly hosted by the Ministry of Commerce of the People's Republic of China and the Shanghai Municipal People's Government. The expo is also supported by international organizations, including World Trade Organization, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and United Nations Industrial Development Organization. It is reported that the China International Import Expo is regarded as a strategic platform for countries and businesses seeking access to the Chinese market, a venue for launching new products and technologies, and a mechanism for promoting global supply chains and international commercial partnerships. Over the years, it has attracted participation from more than 100 countries and thousands of enterprises, including numerous Fortune Global 500 companies. Madam the Speaker, I am informed that the Economic Development Board has led the participation of Mauritian exporters in Shanghai in 2024 and 2025. These participations were intended to assess the potential of the Chinese market for Mauritian products and to broaden our export footprint in Asia. It is also worth noting that during previous editions of the Expo, in which Mauritius participated, our mission in Beijing liaised with the relevant Chinese authorities to ensure that the necessary assistance was extended to the EDB. Furthermore, representatives of the mission attended the 2025 edition of the Expo. With respect to the 9th edition of the Expo, scheduled to be held from the 5th to the 10th of November 2026, I wish to inform the House that the invitation from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China was received at the level of our ministry on the 1st of April 2026 and forwarded to EDB in April itself for consideration. The possibility of participation is presently under detailed examination by the EDB. The EDB is consulting with private sector operators to gauge commercial interest and to assess the economic viability of such a mission. Should this assessment confirm clear commercial value, the EDB will consider coordinating a targeted Mauritian participation with the relevant private sector stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, one question.
Can the Minister tell the House if Mauritian, if his ministry is taking benefit of the free trade agreement which Mauritius has with China?
Yes, Minister.
I did answer a question last week on this, Madam the Speaker. Just to come back to the answer that I gave, I will just inform the member that under the FTA, China has committed to eliminate tariffs on 8,547 tariff lines on goods over a period of 7 years. And in return, Mauritius provides China with duty-free access on 192 tariff lines. It is important to note also that trade flows have fluctuated over the years, and exports to China under the FTA have recently shown an increase from some 126 million in 2024 to 449 million in 2025. Therefore, to conclude and to answer to your question, definitely the private operators here in Mauritius are taking advantage of the FTA.
Yes. A second one? Yes.
What are the measures taken by the Ministry of International Trade to inform the Mauritian traders and exporters of the possibilities existing in China?
The Minister should know that the export promotion falls under the mandate of the EDB, not my ministry.
Il est devenu ministre avant l'heure. Yes, Honorable Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question B880.
Madam Speaker, the information requested is being compiled. It is quite extensive and being placed in the Library of the National Assembly.
Okay. Before, yes, thank you, Minister. One question, okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House whether, for the sake of transparency and since we are dealing with government property, will he take a policy decision to seek Cabinet's approval and publish all leases given to individuals, unlike the previous government?
In actual fact, the issue is very simple, Madam Speaker. If I understand the question correctly, is there the need to go to Cabinet before each lease is given? I refer to what dictates the powers of the Minister, and the Minister of Housing and Land has to comply with the relevant statute. And the relevant statute is the State Lands Act. The State Lands Act says that the Honourable Minister of Housing and Land is the minister that decides who to grant a lease to. The terms and conditions, that's provided by the schedule in terms of value. That's not the minister. However, there are two situations when one has to go to Cabinet, and statute imposes that, and that's mandatory. It is when there is the need for, or the request for a reduction of lease for national interest or any special circumstance. Then the Minister of Housing and Land cannot exercise that discretion himself. He doesn't have that power. He has to go to Cabinet. So, in summary, to give a lease, it is within the sole power of the Minister of Housing and Land. And now, as it is known by one and all, or hopefully it should be, that policy at the level of the ministry is not written by Cabinet. It's written by the Minister. The Minister decides on policy. Now, as far as the policy is concerned, I have myself decided to set up a new set of way forward in terms of a flow chart as to how things are to happen and for things not to get stuck somewhere and for it to be very transparent and for me to give reasons for refusal or reasons as to why one is accepted and the other is not. So everything has to be an informed decision and it has to be properly explained and placed even in a letter where saying that land is not available. But there are circumstances where I have decided to go to Cabinet because there are certain industries or certain concepts that are being brought forward, new elements important to the economy, and for that it is the Minister who decides to go to Cabinet and it's his decision.
Okay, good. Before we proceed, one moment, so that I don't forget, I have now received, table has been advised, that the following PQs, which we should have done before, have been withdrawn. B874, 869, 876, 868, 867, and 870. Yes, your next question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question B881, please.
Madam Speaker, I wish at the outset to convey my deepest condolences to the family of the deceased patient. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I will reply to question B/881 and B/902 together as they relate to the same subject matter. Madam Speaker, I am informed that on 18th May 2026, late patient BM, a 21-year-old pregnant woman, attended the Accident and Emergency Department of Suivez National Hospital at 23.48 hours, complaining of low abdominal pain. The doctor diagnosed the patient with 23 weeks pregnancy with low abdominal pain. The doctor recommended immediate admission, but the patient refused and signed discharge against medical advice. It was noted that the patient had no antenatal follow-up. According to established protocol, a pregnant woman should attend antenatal follow-up at the hospital or any health center to be seen by a gynecologist for a full assessment, including an ultrasound. According to information available, unfortunately, the patient didn't follow antenatal care as recommended in our service. Madam Speaker, about 3 hours later, that is on 19th May 2026 at 3 a.m., the patient returned to Sir Sivasagar Ramgoolam National Hospital, still complaining of abdominal pain, and having minimal bleeding. On examination, it was observed that the patient was in labor. The fetal heart was absent. The doctor on duty informed the specialist on call, who advised to admit the patient in the labor ward to enable the delivery to progress naturally. Madam Speaker, on 19th May 2026, at 6:40 a.m., that is 3 hours later, the patient started to bleed profusely due to placental abruption, that is detachment. The specialist on call was informed of the case. He advised to transfer the patient to the operation theatre for surgery according to our established clinical guidelines. The specialist on call performed the necessary intervention at 7 a.m. The patient was thereafter transferred to gynae ward at 9 a.m. since she was stable following the surgery. At 11:50 a.m., the patient collapsed in ward. She was attended by the specialist on call and sent to the operation theatre for immediate intervention. Madam Speaker, in the operation theatre, the patient was seen by the treating specialist and the consultant in charge, who proceeded with a hysterectomy. The uterus was surgically removed. The patient was thereafter transferred to intensive care unit for post-operative management. Madam Speaker, on 21st May 2026 at 9:05 a.m., it was noted that her abdomen was distended. An exploratory laparotomy, that is, the abdomen was reopened to assess the bleeding, was performed, and patient was kept in ICU. On 22nd May 2026, the patient was still in ICU and was seen by a multidisciplinary team comprising a physician, nephrologist, anesthetist, surgeon, gynecologist, but her condition continued to deteriorate. In spite of further management, the patient developed several complications and unfortunately passed away on 23rd May at 8:40 a.m. Madam Speaker, I am further informed that the body was sent to the police medical officer for post-mortem, which was refused by the relatives. For all road traffic accidents, post-mortem examination is mandatory, whereas in other cases, same is at the discretion of the police medical officer. Madam Speaker, given that this is a case of maternal death, a preliminary inquiry was chaired by the acting regional health director and recommended for an in-depth inquiry into the matter. Based on the recommendations of the preliminary inquiry, my ministry has on 26 May 2026 set up an independent inquiry committee in the matter. The independent inquiry was conducted on 28 May 2026 at SSRN Hospital. The inquiry team comprised of Acting Regional Health Director from Dr. Jitu Hospital and 2 consultants in charge in obstetrics and gynecology from Victoria Hospitals and Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, respectively. Madam Speaker, the independent inquiry report was submitted to my ministry on 1st June 2026. The report of the inquiry panel concludes that the catastrophic medical outcome was heavily driven by a combination suspected regular cannabis use of high-risk obstetric conditions and severe patient-side delays, the lack of routine antenatal surveillance, and severely predisposed the patient to placental abruption and acute disseminated intravascular coagulation. I wish to inform the House that a large 2024 cohort study found cannabis use in pregnancy was associated with higher risk of gestational hypertension, preeclampsia, abnormal pregnancy weight gain, and placental abruption. The initial refusal of inpatient management via a discharge against medical advice directly delayed critical early intervention. Once readmitted, the medical teams executed all standard emergency, surgical, and intensive care protocols without delay or shortcoming. Despite maximum blood component therapy to reverse the bleeding, the sheer severity of the fulminating DIC culminated in fatal multiple organ failure and transfusion-related acute lung injury. Madam Speaker, despite the conclusion of independent inquiry committee, in the interest of justice and transparency, my ministry will refer the case to Medical Council of Mauritius for an in-depth investigation and appropriate actions.
Okay. one to start with.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House whether no gynecologist was present at 3 a.m. on that date, and the problem come with the recent ruling of the Employment Relations Tribunal on the work of specialists on a 24/7 basis? What is being done to this effect? Thank you.
I thank the honourable member. She appears to be very well informed about this. Pursuant to government policy, aim at reducing maternal under 5 mortality, the PRB report of 2008 expressly provided for officers of grade of consultant in charge and specialists in the field of obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, anesthesists to be physically present at all times to ensure coverage at night in the regional hospitals. Unfortunately, in August 19, 2022, the then government proceeded with the implementation of 24/7 specialist services in the 3 above mentioned fields without ensuring an adequate number of specialists were available in these fields. They acted very fast, and unfortunately, following a labor dispute between the Government Medical and Dental Association and the government regarding 24/7 specialized services, the Employment Relations Tribunal concluded that 24/7 specialized services constitutes an imposition of an unilateral change in terms and conditions of service. The ERT therefore recommended that the ministry had to review the situation. That is, the doctors will no longer be, will be asked, will be compulsorily, they don't have to be present 24/7. And therefore, they will be only when called, they have to be present. When that award was out, on the same day, I remember because we had decided that we have to discuss with the Sanjika union. But unfortunately, the same day, the union, the Government Medical and Dental Officers Association, the same day the secretary wrote a letter to all those who were concerned stating that the 24/7 working system illegally imposed upon the obstetricians, gynecologists, pediatricians and anesthesists shall stop with immediate effect. So what they did, they stopped it, though we were still discussing with them that to find ways and means how they will be present. So they stopped it, and therefore they were on call. It is a fact that the gynecologist was not present at that time. If I'm not mistaken, he came, he was giving instruction, but he came around 6 in the morning. And because of this, I can inform the House, we are very strict about it. We are going to, definitely we are going to have a protocol, a very severe protocol and serious one. We are working on it to see to it that when any life is in danger, any patient is in danger, not only the doctor responsible for that discipline, but also directly or indirectly associated with it should be compulsorily present, because here it's not a matter of money only, it's a matter of life and death. Unfortunately, I'm very, very sorry to say that there has been, I am not going to blame all, but there has been a handful of them who are making abuse of this award which has come out.
Okay. Ms. Chief Whip, because she had a question you replied to.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Je présente également mes sympathies à la famille endeuillée. Could the Minister inform the House whether une assistance psychologique will be provided à la famille endeuillée? Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
You, upon request, definitely, I'll look into it favorably.
Yes, your second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Par rapport à ma question supplémentaire, the ministry made it clear that there was going to have a 24/7 presence of specialists such as gynecologists. Can the minister, that you already answered, inform the House who asked the doctors to stop working 24/7, and what is the outcome of the report of the high-powered committee in this matter? Thank you.
You know, the report that is, there's no high-powered committee as such. That was only, as I just spoke to you, about the Government Medical and Dental Association as well as the Employment Relations Tribunal. That is the ruling of that tribunal. But I have just mentioned that once that the ruling was out, the same day, without waiting a single minute, that instructions came from the union that immediately it has to be stopped. And everybody knows that these are very rare field, scarcity area. We have got a lack of such experts, such specialists in our hospitals, and it was extremely difficult for us immediately to rush and to take a decision. But we have maintained that on call, the doctors have to be present, they should be present. The doctor was present, but he was present early in the morning. He gave instructions, and then after that he came. That's why I say that we are referring the matter to medical council. It is up to the medical council to go through all the reports and to take action that is necessary.
Yes, Dr. Amir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That will be the last question.
First, I extend my deepest sympathy to the bereaved family. The Honourable Minister, in his answer, mentioned that he's been made aware of the report, and he clearly mentioned that DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation, is the main cause of death in this particular case, and it is usually the main causes of death in maternal deaths. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether it's not high time that all our public hospitals have a consultant hematologist who is a specialist in DIC to avoid such tragedies? Thank you.
I look into that. Definitely I'll consider it favorable, except my only problem is the scarcity. This is a scarcity area. We'll try to find out if you can get the support from any of our partners, particularly WHO, because we keep on getting advice from them and even experts.
Thank you. Honourable members, now I am informing you that the table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B882, B903, B907, B8797, and B909. Thank you. I will now raise for 1.5 hours. Thank you very much.